Welcome to Math 147. My goal for this video is to give you a quick tour of the website that we're using and go over the course requirements. Here we go. The course software we're using is wamap.org. You go to wamap.org and log in, and then once you follow the login key from your syllabus, from your email that you got, you should be able to get into this site. This is what you should see when you first get in there. At the top here, you'll see some announcements that are there. I do have scanned copies of the odd answers from the textbook. There's a little bit of an issue with the publisher. They weren't putting them right there at the very top. They weren't putting them in with the bundled group that you needed, and so those are there. Couple of quick things that you're gonna be about. This title screen at the top is where you'll see any sort of announcements that are available about due dates and things that are there. It looks like I need to update the due dates here for this one of when your midterms and your exams are. But you also should be able to find your syllabus here on this page that goes over in depth right down here. Highlighted there is a file with the in-depth spring quarter syllabus that has all of your whatever quarter this is. I'll probably use this video multiple times, but whatever quarter this is, your syllabus should be there. Your homework grade is based on a handful of things. One is the online homework assignments, and you'll find them here in WAMAP. There's lesson sequences, which are what you'd see if you were sitting in a lecture where I'll talk about some topic, and there's a few questions that I ask you to ask, like I'd ask questions in a regular lecture class, to stop and answer questions based on those things. We'll have a couple of projects, a couple of pencil and paper exams. We have an online discussion forum that's going to count towards your grade, and that I think is pretty much everything. So here we go. In this first purple little thing, if you expand that, it'll tell you about our textbook that's available there. Do I have... Nope, I don't have it there. Okay, but a little bit of information about what our textbook is. And then we've got our projects. Now, sometimes these folders will show as compressed instead of expanded, but a lot of these things are folders. If you click on them, if you've got this black arrow next to it, you can click on it, it'll expand it. It'll show you kind of what's in there. Our projects, we'll have a couple of projects over this quarter. I plan for one during about week 5 and one for week 6. And so there's information here to read through about your projects. And here in the week 1 homework is the homework assignment. You've also got a copy of the first chapter, pretty much the first chapter of the textbook there as a PDF to look at. I know that for some students it takes them a little while to get a hold of the textbook, whether it comes in the mail or get a chance to get it from the bookstore or whatever. So I made a photocopy of a PDF of the first chapter. It's only the first chapter. That's the only part I'm going to provide, but it's there so you can get started right away. So you can jump in when you are ready to go. We have our lesson sequences here at the top, which are, again, like I said, they're a rough, like a rough lecture. There's a video in here, a review of function notation. You'll watch the video. There's a couple of 3 questions to answer about the video, and so this is your video lesson, or your sequence about the material that we're covering here in this first week. All right, and then if I go back here, it'll show the other ones. There's a series of 3 or 4 to talk about the different topics that we're having. A reminder that our due dates for weekly homework problems, which you'll find right here, the next little thing, are 11:59 p.m. on Sundays Pacific time. So be sure that your computer is set to the proper time, or that if it's not the proper time, then you want to adjust based on where you're at in there. So week 1 homework will be here. Week 1 is pretty long. It's got a lot of questions that are kind of review in it as well, but that's pretty typical. and so it's asking you to put in values or expressions or various sorts of things in there, and you just type in the number, and you can hit the submit button. For homework, you have an unlimited number of attempts. 13 is not the right answer, obviously, but you can try it an unlimited number of times until you get it correct or until you're satisfied with your score or the deadline comes. So until that day, you have until Sunday. You can keep working on this. Okay. So homework assignments are there, and also down here is the discussion forum. You should be able to reply again before Sunday. There are two parts. There's a discussion topic. So in this case, I want you to give yourself a little bit of an introduction about who you are. You're required to post in the weekly discussion topic. That's part of your grade. So be sure to get in there and do that. And then, oops, the other part, I think I went too far back there, is a place to ask questions. If you have questions on your homework, if you're having a problem with a question, there's a place to post questions about it. And either other students or myself will try to provide an answer to that, share our ways of doing it. Again, you are welcome to respond to other students' questions. Don't just wait for me, because some days, well, it takes a while sometimes for me to get in here and do it. I'm always in. I always check the forums at least daily. So I'm in here looking at things, but sometimes it might not be at the time that you need the help. So if you're in here and you see a question that you think you can answer, go ahead and try, and ask a question. Please ask questions in here. I don't know what you're struggling with unless you tell me. I don't have that face-to-face interaction that I get in the classroom where I can kind of read students' body language and eyes to see how they're doing. Here I just have to rely on what you type. So please ask questions in here. Try to be specific about which problem that you're having troubles with. It'd be a good idea to copy the problem as well. Type in the problem as well so that we're know exactly what problem you're working with. All right, and it's best to do one problem per question per post. It makes it easier for people that are responding. If you say, if I have questions on 1, 3, and 4, it makes it easier to respond to question 1 on its own, and then question 3 on its own, and question 4 on its own, instead of doing them as separate little separate pieces there. All right, so discussion forums, weekly homework assignments. The lesson sequences will be open all the way till the end of the course. You can always go back in and look at those just as a review, as a refresher of what's there. But you do have the weekly homework assignments that are due each week as well. But I still recommend doing the assignments as you go. You do have one late pass per quarter. It's not showing it to me here, but you should have the option to extend the due date yourself up to a week prior to the due date. Once the due date expires, once it becomes October 1st or October 2nd, you will not be able to extend the deadline. But you can send me a private message, and I will extend that deadline for you up to 1 week after the due date. So if something's just not clicking for you and you need a little extra time, or there's some sort of emergency that comes up, I'll give you one late pass where you can extend the deadline of one of your assignments for up to 1 week there. So, and then also at the bottom of each one are some recommended additional homework practice problems. These won't be turned in or anything, but they're odd numbers, so you can check the answers in the back of the book. But it's just more practice, more ways to test. We want to get proficient to the point where we can do these problems without the use of aids, without the use of notebook, or without a use of the textbook, because you won't have those available when it comes down to the test. So you want to get proficient to that point. When you are looking at a question, actually let me go back there. When you're looking at a question, once you've answered it, I believe, does it show up in here? Let's go to question 1 again. Yeah, if you Oh, you've got an option to reattempt this question. So you can try it again. There's the reattempt the question. And then after the due date, I believe you got the answer to the option to try a different version of this question in here. But you can come back in and look at the questions after the due date. After the due date, your score won't change if you retry the questions, so you can go in and you don't have to worry about lowering your grade at all if you want to reattempt questions to kind of get used to doing more of that type of problem. If you need a little more help, that's a good thing to do. So we got projects. We have the weekly homework assignments that go throughout the whole quarter. Oh, hey, there I am. That's pretty much it. Reminders will pop up in here from time to time, again about about upcoming tests and things. There will be some reviews for tests. I think week 4 has a chapter review, has a upcoming reminder and suggested practice problems. Again, you might need to expand that or compress it depending on what you need to do. If it doesn't automatically come, I've set it to automatically expand, but sometimes that isn't in there. So week 3 had a sample. There's the reminder. Week 3 example, and kind of some example problems of what it covers, some sample exams, and some review questions in there. All right. And actually, there's a forum there, isn't there? Yeah, there's a forum right here, so you can ask questions about what's on test 1 and how do we do it and all that stuff. You also have access to a grade book. At any time, you can check what your current grade is. I'm looking at this from a student view, and because I'm the instructor, it won't show me what it shows on the grade book. But in your grade book, you can check and see what your current grade is, what assignments you've completed, and what assignments you haven't in there. So take a look at that. If you think there's any sort of discrepancy in the due dates, please let me know. It does happen that when I transfer things from quarter to quarter, some of the due dates sometimes don't get set quite like they should be. But send me a message. Let me know. You've got an option to message me right here at the top. And I will do what I can to address those. Or you can send me an email. That's another great way to contact me, is through email. All right, well, good luck this quarter. If you have any sort of questions, please let me know.